Hello everyone, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and here is my Santa Claus drawing. It's going to be a simple one, so just follow along and you'll do great. So first we look for the center of the head. This is where Santa's nose will be. Let's draw an oval here. I start with the top part and then add the bottom part to it. Now let's draw the eyes. But first, let's mark the cheeks on the left and right with two symmetrical half circles. Our Santa Claus will be smiling and his cheeks will slightly squint the eyes from below. Right above these lines, we draw two eyes symmetrically, and right away we add a highlight. Here, my line went a bit past the border, but that's no problem at all. We just extend the cheek line a bit to make it look neat and even. You can always fix tiny little mistakes in your drawings with a few extra lines or strokes. Let's add a few small expression wrinkles around the eyes and move on to the mustache. The mustache will be big and fluffy like handlebars. On the left and right sides, we draw lines that curve like little arches. Next, our task is to draw a line, just follow my steps. And with this motion, we finish the right side of the mustache. The left mustache should be as symmetrical as possible to the right one, so I measure the distance with a ruler. I mark the edge of the mustache and finish it with a curve going from the nose from right to left. The face is turning out a bit asymmetrical, but don't be afraid of that. Faces are never perfectly symmetrical. When I drew the Grinch in the previous video, I actually showed exactly that. Faces are not symmetrical. Most of Santa's body will be taken up by a big, fluffy beard. We need to roughly imagine the borders of that beard in advance. And then I set the outline with these lines on the right and on the left. We'll finish it in a moment, but first I want to draw Santa's smiling mouth. This instantly makes the drawing more cheerful. I draw one line for the tongue and then lines for the left and right tooth. I make the teeth look more even by filling the inside of the mouth with black. To make our Santa look even more lively, we just need to add eyebrows. We draw a slightly squished oval, almost like a little bean, one on the left and one on the right. I draw them slightly lifted upward, and this gives us a more cheerful, smiling facial expression. If I had made a mistake and the eyebrows turned out very asymmetrical, I'd simply color them in and add some fluffiness. For example, I could draw a few extra lines to show sticking out eyebrow hairs. That way, any little imperfections can be easily fixed. But I'm quite happy with the eyebrows I've drawn, so let's move on to the beard. Starting from the lower edge of the beard, I draw curved lines to the left first, and then try to repeat the same proportions on the right. It doesn't need to be perfectly symmetrical. We don't need a flawless mirrored beard. A little difference between the sides is totally fine. Hair never grows exactly the same everywhere, so our main goal is just to keep the overall shape of the beard. And now Santa's face is starting to show some really lovely features. Just a little more to go. Let's put a hat on our Santa Claus. To make sure we get the shape right, I first lightly sketch a very thin semicircle with a pencil to mark the border. Later, I'll clean it up with an eraser. Next, I use the same kind of curved lines to draw the outline of the fluffy part of the hat. If I tried doing it freehand right away, it would probably come out uneven. But since I already have a pencil guide, it's much easier to make it neat. Then, using the same strokes, we draw the top of the hat. You can sketch a pencil guideline again to follow the shape, or if you feel confident, you can use the lower border as a reference and draw it freehand. I'll try doing it by eye. The only tricky part is that the fluffy part of the hat might end up a bit too thin in some spots, so if you're unsure, I definitely recommend making a light pencil sketch first. Next, we draw two simple semicircles for the ears peeking out from under the hat. You can add a few small lines inside the ears to give them more detail. Now let's finish the hat. One simple line across the top and then connect it from below. Using the same strokes we used for the fluffy part of the hat, we draw the pom-pom too. Now the beard looks a little bare, so let's add a few extra lines to give it more character and expression. And now let's draw the body. First we need to decide where the shoulders will go so the proportions stay nice and balanced. I've chosen to place the shoulders roughly in line with the mouth. That will look just right for our cute little drawing. Let's outline the shoulders and arms. The arms will be short and the sleeves will be fluffy. I'm marking the outline of the torso right away, so follow along with me. Using the same strokes we used for the fluffy trim on the hat, we'll draw Santa's sleeves. If they don't turn out perfectly symmetrical, I can always add a few extra circular strokes to give the sleeves more volume and balance. But they look pretty even already, so I'll leave them as they are. For the gloved hands, we'll draw simple curved lines on the left and right sides. Then add a little sausage shape for the thumb. Try to make the fingers as symmetrical as possible on both hands. And if anything ends up uneven, you can always color the gloves in or even turn them into mittens, which means you simply don't draw the individual fingers. Now let's draw a big belt just under Santa Claus's beard. We'll start with the buckle. I've chosen the simplest shape for the belt buckle. If you like, you can add a pattern or get creative and design your own unique buckle. That can look really cute, but I've decided to stick with the classic style. Next, using these lines, we draw the belt itself. First on one side, then on the other. Then we define the belt's width by adding 2 short lines on the left and right. We finish the belt by drawing a line like this on each side. Now let's add some details. Specifically, we'll mark the belt holes with small semicircular strokes. The coat also needs a fluffy trim along the edges. I'm drawing this trim using the same strokes we used for the fur on the hat and at the ends of the sleeves. Ideally, the width of the fur at the bottom should be about the same as the width of the fur on the hat, so everything looks like parts of one matching outfit. But again, if something ends up a bit uneven, you can always add a few extra semicircular strokes to give the fur more volume and balance it out. I repeat the same motions on the other side of the coat as well. And just like that, our Santa Claus is dressed and won't get cold. Now let's set up the proportions for the lower part of the body. This part is very simple. We just need to draw a semicircle. I start with the semicircle on the left side and then add the corresponding line on the right. Next, we're moving on to the legs. They'll be short and cute, about the same length as the arms. The main thing here is to try to make both legs the same thickness. We'll also add a fluffy trim to the legs, just like we did everywhere else in the drawing. Now comes a pretty important moment, the boots. As a kid, I always found them surprisingly tricky. So follow along with me. Start with 2 semicircles like this, one on the left and one on the right, keeping them as symmetrical as possible. Then add semicircles for the back parts of the boots, again trying to keep everything nicely balanced. And right away we'll set the proportions for the heel. Now it's pretty easy to finish the boots with one more smooth semicircular motion. Perfect, and let's complete the soles. And that's our Santa Claus. Now you can start coloring him in. Leave a like if you enjoyed this tutorial and subscribe to my channel, Art Lab. And now check out the next recommended video. It's a fun one. Bye everyone and see you in the next video.